Have you ever thought that the Invisible Woman might be the most dangerous member of the Fantastic Four? Seriously, forget about the Thing with his ridiculous 80-ton strength or the Human Torch flying like a flaming missile at over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Susan Storm is a war machine disguised as a well-behaved blonde, and today we're going to dissect every inch of this surreal anatomy to understand why she can take anyone down without them even seeing her coming. The thing is, everyone underestimates her because her powers seem defensive, but the truth is she masters two of the most fundamental forces in the universe: light and gravity. Get ready because we're diving deep into the crazy science behind Marvel's most underestimated powers, from microscopic cellular modification to the cosmic implications of her abilities. And I guarantee you'll leave here seeing Sue with new eyes, literally, because she could be invisible right next to you right now, manipulating the electromagnetic waves around her body so that photons literally contour her silhouette without leaving even a shadow. Let's start this scientific journey that will show how a woman just over 5'4" can dominate the entire universe using only her mind. Anatomically speaking, Susan Storm is a walking phenomenon that defies everything we know about human biology. Physically, she looks like an ordinary woman in her mid-30s, 5'5", approximately 137 pounds, natural platinum blonde hair and crystal blue eyes that changed color after exposure to cosmic radiation. But all this normality is pure scientific illusion, because every cell in her body has been rewritten by cosmic radiation at the subatomic level. Her skin is no longer ordinary skin composed of keratin and collagen. It's living tissue that can instantly alter its molecular structure, refracting visible light in a spectrum range from infrared to ultraviolet rays. Her muscles have been reconstructed with fibers that can contract and expand far beyond normal human limits, allowing movements that generate enough kinetic force to break sound barriers. Her skeleton has been fortified with a natural alloy of calcium and unknown cosmic elements, creating bones 3 times more resistant than pure titanium. And the most insane part, her nervous system has evolved to process electromagnetic information that our primitive brain couldn't even interpret, creating a neural network capable of mapping subatomic particles over an area of several miles around her. Now let's talk about raw power, because this is where things get completely insane and defy traditional physics laws. Sue doesn't have super developed muscles like Hulk or Thor, but the force field she generates can exert atmospheric pressure of more than 400 tons per square meter when she's focused. This means she can crush a 60-ton Abrams battle tank like it's a soda can smashed by an industrial hydraulic press. Her fields have been measured by Reed Richards equipment, withstanding the direct impact of meteors traveling at 30,000 miles per hour, nuclear explosions equivalent to hydrogen bombs, and even direct attacks from Galactus himself operating at 10% capacity. To give you a real sense of how absurd this is, imagine an invisible wall of pure energy that can stop a Japanese bullet train at 200 miles per hour without even vibrating or showing signs of cracking. She can create microscopic containment spheres that compress objects with gravitational force equivalent to the core of a white dwarf star, literally crushing enemies from the inside out until reducing them to atomic dust. And the scariest thing of all is that this enormous power comes directly from her mind through psionic manipulation. So technically, there is no known physical limit to how much pressure she can generate when emotionally unstable. Her speed is another point nobody takes seriously in the nerd community, but honestly should be at the top of any villain's list of concerns. Sue can form force fields instantaneously with reaction speed bordering on technological telepathy. And when I say instantaneous, it's because her neural transmission speed has been amplified by cosmic radiation to levels that rival quantum processors. She can intercept sniper bullets in motion, create defensive barriers faster than a normal human reflex could blink, and move using the fields themselves as aerodynamic propulsion, reaching speeds that would make military jets jealous. Flying with force fields as support, she easily reaches 250 miles per hour in a straight line, but can make 90-degree turns without losing speed because she's not subject to the same inertia limitations that affect normal physical objects. Most impressive are her reflexes. Her neural reaction time has been reduced to less than 2 milliseconds, which means she can react to threats that our evolutionary brain wouldn't even process as real danger. She has been documented creating force fields to deflect laser beams traveling at the speed of light, and this is only possible because she doesn't need to see the attack coming. Her mind senses quantum disturbances in the fabric of space-time before the threat even materializes in the physical plane. And speaking of physical endurance, here we enter an area where science turns into pure science fiction and traditional biology goes out the window along with logic. Susan Storm's body has been completely reconstructed by cosmic radiation, creating a hybrid physiology that defies all known laws of medicine and human evolution. She doesn't age at the same rate as normal humans because her cells regenerate using cosmic energy as cellular fuel, creating a renewal cycle that keeps DNA in an almost primitive state. The accelerated regeneration factor she developed can heal deep wounds in a matter of hours, regenerate broken bones in 2 days, and even restore damaged internal organs in a process that Marvel doctors classify as assisted molecular regeneration. Her resistance to extreme conditions is absurd. She can survive in the vacuum of space for periods of up to 6 hours without equipment, withstand temperatures ranging from -328 degrees to 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit, and resist radiation levels that would kill a normal human being in seconds. But before continuing to talk about these insane capabilities that seem more like alien superpowers, if you're enjoying this crazy scientific analysis, leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel because there's much more in-depth nerd content coming up, including analyses of other Fantastic Four members. Now getting back to Sue's surreal anatomy, her circulatory system has been modified to distribute cosmic energy throughout her entire body through a network of vessels that function as bioelectric conductors, essentially creating a biological battery that constantly recharges by absorbing electromagnetic radiation from the environment. Her special powers work through a scientific process that Marvel researchers classify as Psionic Manipulation of quantum fields, which basically means she can alter reality using only the power of her trained mind. Her brain has developed expanded frontal lobes that can interact directly with the fundamental fabric of space-time, creating localized distortions in the matrix of reality that manifest as visible energy fields. When she becomes invisible, it's not simply a matter of bending light like a common prism. She's altering how electromagnetic waves interact with her body's matter at the subatomic level, essentially making photons pass through her without registering her physical presence. The force fields are projections of pure energy telekinetically controlled, composed of exotic particles that scientists still can't completely identify, but which can solidify in different densities depending on the tactical need of the moment. She can create fields as hard as industrial synthetic diamond, as flexible as natural rubber, or as penetrating as carbon nanotubes, all mentally controlled with surgical precision. The most fascinating and frightening thing is that these abilities are connected directly to her emotional state through neural connections that amplify emotions into raw power. When calm and focused, the fields are precise, geometric, and controlled with mathematical perfection. When furious or desperate, the power increases exponentially, reaching levels that can literally tear temporary holes in local reality, creating spatial anomalies that defy current scientific understanding. Intellectually, Susan Storm is a military strategic genius disguised as an American housewife, and this combination is more dangerous than any nuclear weapon ever created. Her IQ was amplified by cosmic radiation from a normal level of 120 points to something that tests can no longer adequately measure, developing a multi-dimensional tactical intelligence that rivals the greatest military strategists in human history combined. During combat, she can simultaneously process dozens of complex variables, including ballistic trajectories, structural weak point analysis, applied physics calculations, and counterattack possibilities, all in milliseconds while maintaining multiple active force fields. Her mind essentially functions as a biological quantum computer, analyzing millions of mathematical probabilities and creating battle strategies that take into account not just the present moment, but also future projections based on enemy behavior. In real combat situations, she doesn't just need to react defensively. She anticipates movements 3 moves in advance, predicts attack patterns through instant behavioral analysis, and manipulates the entire battlefield as if it were a 3-dimensional chessboard where she always sees 10 moves ahead. She has been documented defeating physically superior enemies simply by using force fields in creative and non-obvious ways, creating invisible labyrinths that confuse enemies, containment traps that activate with perfect timing, and even subtly altering the atmospheric pressure around opponents to cause fainting, vertigo, or complete disorientation without them understanding what's happening. But it's not all roses in this surreal anatomy of a cosmic semi-goddess, because even the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe have limitations that can be exploited by intelligent enemies. Sue's main weaknesses are predominantly mental and emotional, creating vulnerabilities that drastically contrast with the enormous physical power she possesses. Her powers depend completely on mental concentration and emotional stability, so any severe distraction, psychological trauma, or sensory overload can cause catastrophic failures in the force fields, leaving her vulnerable to attacks that would normally be harmless. She has been defeated several times throughout comic book history by enemies who managed to overload her mental processing capacity with multiple simultaneous attacks coming from different directions, forcing her mind to divide attention beyond safe limits. Another critical weakness is the enormous energy consumption. Maintaining high-intensity force fields for prolonged periods rapidly drains the cosmic energy stored in her circulatory system, potentially causing temporary fainting or deep comas lasting days. Emotionally, she has a psychological tendency to overprotect herself, creating defensive barriers even in everyday situations that wouldn't need protection, which can severely limit offensive effectiveness and create tactical blind spots. And there's a super interesting scientific detail that few know. Her force fields can't filter specific types of electromagnetic radiation, so attacks based on very high frequencies like gamma rays or very low ones like radio waves can pass through her defenses as if they didn't exist. In real confrontations against cosmic-level adversaries, Susan Storm is practically unbeatable when she has adequate preparation time and enough space to maneuver tactically, transforming any battlefield into a zone of absolute control. She has faced off equally against absurdly powerful enemies like Dr. Doom using complete armor, Galactus operating at 20% capacity, alternative versions of Hulk in maximum rage state, and even minor cosmic entities without breaking a sweat. Her fundamental tactical advantage is the ability to attack and defend simultaneously, using multiple independent force fields, essentially creating a fighting style that combines tank, DPS, and support in a single person. In urban battles, she uses the built environment as a natural extension of her powers, creating invisible aerial platforms for three-dimensional mobility, redirecting architectural debris as guided projectiles, isolating specific combat areas to control the flow of battle, and even manipulating air pressure to create artificial winds that unbalance opponents. Against super-fast enemies like Quicksilver or Makari, she creates complex labyrinths of force fields that drastically limit mobility and channel movement to predetermined kill zones. Against super-strong enemies like Juggernaut or Hulk, she uses invisibility combined with microscopic force fields for surgical attacks directly on vital points, including pressure on acupuncture points, blockage of main arteries, and even compression of specific internal organs. Her tactical versatility is absolutely absurd on paper. She can function as a tank absorbing damage for the team, an assassin eliminating priority targets without being detected, support protecting allies with barriers, or controller completely manipulating the battlefield depending on the strategic needs of the moment. My final theory is that Susan Storm represents the perfect evolution between raw cosmic power and refined tactical control, essentially creating what would be a goddess of war if she chose that path. While other heroes rely exclusively on enormous brute force like Hulk, extreme speed like Quicksilver, or advanced technology like Iron Man, she has completely mastered the subtle art of tactical battlefield manipulation through powers that mess with fundamental forces of the universe. Her cosmic anatomy is the perfect example of how radiation can create not just isolated superpowers, but a completely new life form adapted to survive and dominate in any known or unknown hostile environment. If she really wanted to, she could easily become the supreme dictator not just of Earth, but of entire solar systems, controlling governments through total invisibility, eliminating any political or military opposition with lethal force fields, and manipulating the global economy while remaining completely undetectable. Fortunately for all of us, and for cosmic balance, she consciously chose to be a hero and use these absurd powers to protect humanity instead of dominating it. But this makes me think of an interesting philosophical question. What if one day she decides that humanity needs to be controlled and guided for its own good, like a mother protecting irresponsible children? Could anyone in the Marvel Universe really stop her operating at 100% capacity without moral limitations? Leave in the comments which hero or villain you think would have a real chance against Susan Storm, fighting at full power without holding back, and explain in detail the strategy you would use. Until the next insane anatomical analysis, folks.